All right, welcome to GAN TV. This is GAN Politics. Today, GAN International. I'm going to talk about international politics. Very important news. What we learn is that President Putin has been threatened by the ICC, the International Criminal Court. Is trying Mr. Putin. But there's so many questions, and we all know, and this is just a symbolic threat, because there's no way the ICC doesn't have the mean to really get President Putin the way they got President Gbagbo of Cote d'Ivoire. Putin is a completely different kind of animal. So the question is, why is the ICC doing this in the first place? Is this because of Ukraine, the war, the invasion of Ukraine, or this is because of the fact that there's some violation? We heard that there's some a lot of kids that have been kidnapped, that some abused. A lot of other stuff that come to this equation that is making the ICC to take that kind of decision. But it looks like some countries in Africa are not buying it. And one of these countries is actually Equatorial Guinea. The vice president happened to be the son of the president, Theodore Ngema. He said, no, listen, we don't care what the ICC is saying. And in the eyes of a vice president of Equatorial Guinea, ICC have no credibility, seeing the double standards that is being going on. So we're going to play a quick, we're going to let our digital reporter, Marshall Mboma, to give us some perspective before we deep into this issue. Understanding why it's so important for us to pay attention as this crisis unfold. Can ICC make this kind of statement and back it up, or they probably are depending on the European Union and the United States. So let's just, probably listen to Marshall Mboma, and then we can have more, more meat on this bone that I think is so hard to eat tonight. So that is in the minutes that is the minutes that are coming.
See warrant against Putin. Equatorial Guinea says it does not feel concerned and invites the Russian president. The vice president of Equatorial Guinea is the first African leader to publicly take a stand for Russian President Vladimir Putin, after the latter was awarded.
Now, we all know that the United States, publicly, as far as the Congress is concerned, I've made it clear that nobody should openly support Putin, or any kind of any shape or form should never, allow set aside with Russia. Now, Equatorial Guinea is going to be the the first country on the African continent to say, listen, we are a sovereign country. We can do what we want to do. And as far as they're concerned, they're not part of the ICC. So they feel like, hey, listen, if Putin wants to come to Equatorial Guinea, it's free to come, and he will be welcome here.
An arrest warrant by the International Criminal Court, Theodore Obiang Nguema decided that his country would hardly apply this warrant. Better, he invites President Putin to go to Equatorial Guinea whenever he wants. Theodore Obiang Nguema laughs at the ICC's decision to issue an arrest warrant for Russian President Vladimir Putin. For him, The International Criminal Court has lost all credibility for ages. He therefore must.
I mean, honestly, with your right mind, would you blame Mr. Theodore, Vice President Theodore Obiang, knowing that this is just a joke? Because we all know, as long as Mr. Putin is in power in Russia, there's no way the ICC is gonna go and arrest him the way they did, the former president of Cote d'Ivoire. It's not gonna happen. This is maybe, if ever, they think they're gonna win the war in Ukraine gonna win the war, and Putin gonna lose power to the point where they can now probably get him. But as long as this man is in power, I don't think they will dare to go and do something like that. I mean, this is just my opinion. You can be free to comment. Send us some comment. We will put your comment on the screen, and we're going to continue to debate or discuss. This is a very serious matter as far as the international politics is concerned.
The fact that it is, for example, the United States, a country which does not recognize this organization, which is delighted that a warrant has been issued against Putin. The CPI's credibility.
Yeah, the United States is not a part of the ICC. Russia is not a part of the ICC. So I don't know how this works. Who is even behind this? How can you issue an arrest warrant on somebody who actually is not a part of your belief system? How this is going to work? Or they're going to go and get Putin from Russia and then take him to wherever the ICC is. I want to see this happen. But if this is the way we think we're going to be solving international issues, I think dealing with a superpower like Russia, this can be very, very, very dangerous.
Is compromised, both by its track record and its current actions, and it can only be recovered when it proves that it is able to act without outside interference. In 2018, the United States threatened the ICC and called it a kangaroo cup, which does not meet international standards of justice.
Yeah, when this places, if when America feel like, they have nothing, no explanation to give to the ICC, they call it all kind of names. But I want to know now is if Putin have the same kind of attitude toward the ICC. I would like to understand, to see what would be the United States position on that, because the United States never respect the ICC in the first place. As a matter of fact, you can never, say, for example, that the former President Bush will be, there will be a warrant against them when we talk about the war in Iraq, for example. Nobody gonna dare to come in and get the president of the United States and take him to Europe to condemn them for that. So I don't think it's gonna be possible. And if it's possible, I just want to wait and see. But it's less likely that something like this will happen. What I believe is that this is just a way to kind of bully some of the countries that do business with Russia, and I think there's also countries that won't even take this seriously. A country like China won't stop working with Russia, and some countries in Africa that I know, Mali, probably one of them, but Equatorial Guinea is just openly saying, listen, we're not taking this, to account, and this is not our business. And if Putin wants to come to Africa do business, it is free to come. Now, I don't know how the international community gonna, so-called international community, gonna take this.
Only because they were called to account for their actions in Syria and Afghanistan. And it is curious that they now support the same ICC to prosecute Vladimir Putin, denounces the Vice President Obiang Nguema.
I mean, the main out is the point here. If you want to be a credible, if you want to be a credible organization, you have to be able to be, I mean, you cannot be two-sided. If you want to apply the law should be applied to everybody. So you cannot be, having, double standards, and if you that continue to be like that, then in long terms, people started not respect, whatever your laws are, the rules and the regulations. And this is why this is so important, because organizations, structures like ICC are very important to create some kind of stability, to make sure that people in a position of power not to abuse their power. But when at the same time, countries that have the power to reinforce, country has the capacity to reinforce this kind of and to give strength to this kind of organization. I'm talking about the United States. If the United States is not respecting the ICC, then what kind of message they send to other countries? It's like, this is just a criminal court created for weak countries or weak presidents. But I don't think Mr. Putin is the one. This is going to be a very, very interesting battle. I don't know if they can do it. I already said that it's not possible to do it while this guy is in power. They probably want to just find a way to isolate Mr. Putin in a way that nobody, and especially not really important, but to scare the country around, and tell them and give them a signal that, hey, listen, we should never do business with Putin. But as we are seeing more and more that, most countries don't take these organizations seriously. And also my fear is that more likely many countries are, working toward not giving the respect that the American deserve. If we came out from this crisis, that America didn't do anything, or the European NATO didn't do anything to Putin, then people are gonna see Russia as a competitor when it comes to global power. And I see my friend here, Irma, that is saying this is unbelievable. Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Kumba, Miss Kumba, this is unbelievable. But it's clear that they will try to do this, and we are in the middle of a crisis. There's no way. I don't see no signals about how we can use diplomacy to solve this crisis. But yet, they already put some threat about trying to get President Putin. So this makes the matter even difficult to resolve. President Putin has a chair in the Security Council of the United States. How can they arrest him? Another good question. This is a variety of questions that people are asking, and I think this deserves a serious debate, a serious conversation, because if you are, you have this veto power in the United Nations, and you still vulnerable to this kind of threat, then even this veto power in long run won't be anything. Nobody will actually respect this anymore. But this is also to Not to say that just because you have a veto power, you should go around and then invade other country, unprovoked, but at the same time, we should kind of push. And I see where you come from, because like, keep in mind, you also you have that, you're a diplomat, Miss Koma. You're a diplomat, so I understand that diplomacy should be put in place first. We have to try to solve issues diplomatically before we go and threaten each other. And if you think, you also say that it might be you believe this is intimidation. Yeah, of course, but you have to choose people to operate that way. Miss Putin is not. I've shown that is not this kind of leaders that you can easily intimidate. You have shown that many times, where the United States, you remember, during the Obama administration, he was saying, listen, you cannot attack Crimea. What did Putin did? He went and attacked Crimea, and nothing happened. So this is not something that people will think you will go and intimidate Putin easily, and then you will expect him just to back up because you put some threat. This is somebody who has the ability to say to England. England used to be one of those superpower in this world. Remember that conversation he had with former Prime Minister Boris. That hey, listen, if you play with me, it takes only one missiles to destroy your country. So this is not somebody you just go and try to intimidate. And the ICC, the International Criminal Court, it doesn't have the kind of power to stop Putin or to intimidate Putin. And I think it's very dishonest when you see countries like Great Britain and France, countries that actually are nuclear power countries. If they cannot openly say to Putin, we're gonna do this to you, by them using the ICC, I think this is very it's very laughable, because the ICC won't do nothing. You only can go and do this kind of stuff in Africa or in some weak European countries, but you cannot. The ICC is not gonna go to China and say, you know what, we're gonna arrest or so put some kind of a, no matter what the president of China is doing, the ICC is not gonna go over there and say, hey, listen, some threat here, we're gonna bring you to the ICC, we're gonna condemn you. It's not gonna happen. We know that. So why is that in the middle of a crisis like this, they're trying to do the impossible, or create a situation that it will worsen the one that we already have, because that is not going to solve or bring Putin to the table by saying, listen, you're going to be we're going to put you in jail like they did with President Gbagbo. It's not going to happen. We know that already. So you say, yes, absolutely. I believe this is an intimidation because they are trying to prevent the third world. Well, not sure how effect it is, but just keep in mind, like I said, there's things like regime change, for example. It's only work in countries like Libya, some countries in Africa. Thinking that you can apply a regime change on a country like Russia. Remember, that was the original plan. They thought they could do that with Russia. It didn't work. And they also thought if you put enough sanction, and I'm talking since Obama, they was thinking if you put enough sanction on Russia, there will be a chance that people will start starving, and his own people will probably there will be people protesting the country in a way that they will kick his behind out of the office. We also see this is not happening. Nothing is working. Um, so you say, yes, absolutely. I believe this isn't even, I read that already. So what I'm trying to say is that they have tried almost everything, from, they send us warning, don't do this. Putin continue to do it. Nothing happened to Putin. And then again, there was so many, sanctions. They have put so many sanctions on these countries many times since Obama. Sanctions have proven not to work. Now, instead of sanction, instead of saying you were gonna bomb Russia, now they're saying the criminal court of justice, the International Court of Justice, issue an arrest of Putin. Now, Putin didn't say anything. Now, when you see a small country like Equatorial Guinea, which is even, I think Equatorial Guinea probably the size of DC. If Equatorial Guinea is saying, hey, listen, this is a bluff, we don't believe this anymore. Even if it was true, the fact that you are not applying these things on everybody, the fact that you pick and choose who you go and attack or apply this so-called international law, you pick and choose country you do, we don't want to be a part of it. That is a really, really serious situation when it comes to international politics. Because in the long run, raw countries, with some dictators all around the world, won't no longer at one point, respect, the so-called international laws, and if the appropriate, appropriate measures are not taken to stop this madness. So, and countries that are misbehaving, it's not just Russia. You also see a country like Israel attacking the Palestinians, occupying Palestine. Nobody said a word. Everybody's, nobody actually, is capable of standing up and say, hey, this is wrong. So people are watching. In long run, if I keep saying something that you don't, just with certain set of population, certain people, certain countries, in the long run, people just gonna say, hey, listen, we don't want to be a part of this. And I suspect this is probably what is gonna take place in the long run with maybe Equatorial Guinea will be first, and then before you know it, Mali gonna do the same thing, and before you know it, some other countries. I already know China is obviously nobody gonna count China into this because they know China don't respect, it's not even part of the ICC. So let's listen to Marshall Bowman.
Recalling that his country does not also recognize the ICC, Teodoro Obiang Nguema assures that consequently, Equatorial Guinea will not apply this mandate. Our country is not a member of the ICC, and is not obliged to follow its rules. President Vladimir Putin is welcome in Equatorial Guinea, and will be received with honors if he decides to visit us.
Will receive with honor. Now that is a little bit troublesome, knowing that you might feel some sympathy for President Putin, but at the same time you also have to keep in mind that this guy have just invaded a sovereign country, and that should never be encouraged. We should never applaud one country invaded another. But on the other side of the argument, when you kind of listen to the reason why Putin invaded Ukraine, it kind of makes sense for a lot of people, a lot of countries, especially countries in Africa. Because what happened in the arguments Putin didn't put in place is what? It's like, okay, you know what? If and this is Putin himself saying, if Russia, go to Canada or maybe Mexico or maybe Cuba, like it was in the 60s, and trying to turn those countries, bordering country with America, into a Russian base, for example, what will be American sentiment? Can you think America will be comfortable with that proposition that Russia will just go and build a base and near, maybe at the next to Arizona on this Mexico side, or down here in Cuba? If you have a superpower like that, building is the arsenal, putting in the arsenal in direction to your country. That threat very existed. This is becoming an existential issue. That's the issue of life or death. So, and this is not Putin saying, listen, this is just one time, me telling you don't do it. Putin have been asking the West, that it is not to our benefit. This is a threat to our very existence that you bring, a base, a military base next to us to threaten our existence. But the West, NATO, and America and its ally didn't really pay attention to it. Didn't even respect. Russia continued to say, no, this is going to happen. So, and on the other side, Ukraine, what happened to Ukraine is terrible. The people's dying is always something bad. But at the same time, it should know better. If I was the president of Ukraine, I should never, trying to do something like this, knowing that he doesn't have even a nuclear power or nuclear weapon to defend himself. Because guess what? Before you know it, this man is Putin already put all the weapon on alert. His nuclear weapon is being on alert since day one. So at one point, if they continue to push this madman, they continue to push him, there's a chance he can use a nuclear power on Ukraine. So what Ukraine gonna do? Nothing, because Ukraine does not have a nuclear weapon to retaliate against what Russia. And America is not gonna be using its nuclear weapon on Russia. Neither that France is not gonna do it. England is not gonna do it. Nobody will take its nuclear weapon and use it on Russia. But Russia will, if he feel threatened, if Putin feel like this is a question of life or death, I promise you, it will definitely use nuclear power on Ukraine. But Ukraine won't do anything because Ukraine don't have a nuclear power to retaliate. So that will be a serious, a smart leader would think about that before anything. To think that I will put my people to a greater risk. Right now, it's a devastation going on in Ukraine, and it's going to continue to go like that. Yeah, and the more Ukraine will have help from Ukraine will have help from the West, including that means the United States and Europe. Guess what? Guess what happened? Russia is going to continue to press on destroying that country, and I don't think we will come to a point where Ukraine just going to celebrate a victory over Russia. I mean, our people would like to think that way, but it will be less likely that a scenario like this happen. And that's why when you see the president of France starting to talk to the Ukrainian president, hey, listen, you've shown your leadership as a war leader. This is a time for you now to step up as a diplomatic one. You have to use diplomacy, but it looks like Ukraine president is looking at the situation and saying, listen, it's hard for me to go back, or to stop this, but it has to swallow his pride. If he doesn't do it, I promise you, he will have on his hands, a lot of citizens, a lot of his citizens, really, and his country will be totally destroyed. And in the end, is going to have to, have one of the worst deal. And that deal will be that not only you've lost too much people, but it also will be now have to negotiate, with the winner. Because remember, when you lose a war, it's the winner that will put in place his rules. So Russia would say, for example, I'm gonna take a big chunk of your territory, and that it will be the deal. In order for you to ask me to stop this, I'm gonna have to take this territory that is gonna be a part of my, part of Russia. So, there's the best way to have, the Ukraine president have avoided this is just not to get in a situation where you cannot win, it's a war against Russia. Russia is a superpower with there are thousands of nuclear power, 1,000 nuclear weapons, thousand. I mean, nuclear power is equal, maybe even a little bit superior to the United States. So you're not gonna go over there and trying to act as if you can win a war against such power. All you're gonna do is just destroy your country and continue to beg for more money from the West and beg for more weapon, and some of this weapon and military equipment. Some of your people don't know even how to use it. This is probably not a mainstream position, and I know a lot of people, we have to support Ukraine, which is good because they've been under pressure, they've been attacked, people dying. We have to support. That's fine. But what I'm saying is, this is just one of the stupidest and the thing that Ukraine have put himself into. Should never ever, believe that he could become a member of NATO and that would be okay with Putin. It's just like saying, Cuba, will allow Russia to come, and we've seen that in the 60s. We see that in the 60s. Khrushchev and President Kennedy. Thank God, those two leaders, have the way to, resolve this issue in a very, diplomatic way. Could have gone to it, one of the nuclear, war, and that could have been probably the end of humanity. And if we don't play, we don't try to do something. We don't try to do something on this particular issue. Is gonna be extremely difficult, and we're gonna continue to push hard on Russia to act stupidly, and the president of Russia is not somebody who actually buy into the Western kind of logic. This guy will do everything to defend, his nation, and he will use any means necessary to destroy whoever is on his way. He's already said that. So we should take this to the account and try to talk to the Ukraine and the country. And if we can help, is to say, hey, Mr. Ukraine President, Mr. Zelensky, you've done enough. Just like President Macron said to him, you've done enough. You've proven to be a war president. This is a time for diplomacy. If we don't do that, then we are not good friends to Ukraine. We're just pushing these people to continue to destroy the country. The time is now. I think we've seen stuff like that when the United States deposited the nuclear power on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. At one point, you're not gonna say, okay, I'm gonna continue to keep fighting. You just have to accept that your opponent is most powerful and come to the table to get some kind of peace. I mean, I know this position is not really welcome in the mainstream. I'm just being realistic. I'm being realistic. This is it's not gonna be good, and the world's gonna continue to be divided. And some countries that have been punished by the West or by the United States, some of the dictators around the world, Now they see a champion. See a champion in in this guy Putin, and if Putin can reassure them that, yeah, listen, we can we can protect you, can do business with you, and you don't have to worry about this Western country. And then this is a world that's going to be divided in too many pieces.
Declared the Vice President of Equatorial Guinea. Yesterday he commented on this decision, arguing that the ICC is in fact an instrument of the imperialist powers which use it for their ends. I am Marshall Mboma for Gone Digital.
Absolutely. So, I mean, we just have to be courageous. And the reason why sometimes it's hard to solve problems in this world is that there's a lack of people with integrity. With integrity means that capable of telling the truth. If we're not capable of telling the truth, then what we're going to be seeing is lies going to be destroyed. And if we make Ukraine and President Zelensky that we're going to be there for him against Putin, it will be a point, we will come to a point where we no longer can support this man. And when that decision will take place, guess what? Ukraine will be totally devastating, will be completely destroyed. And for the trained mind, for people who really know, what kind of a power the Ukrainian are fighting against, you already know this is bad news. You cannot win a war against Russia. It's not possible. It's not possible. And the suggestion that we can just make them weak, or make sure that if we keep the war going on, the people of Russia are gonna wake up and be mad at President Putin, or just reject the war. I don't see that happen soon. So we have tried that, and at this point, after a year, if that doesn't work, I think we should, at this point, trying to find some other solution. Otherwise, this crisis is gonna destroy. Because right now, when we see the prices on the produce, life have become extremely difficult. We just started with a pandemic, and it was already hard, and then the war in Ukraine, prices going up, and you see some of the best allies, United States allies, like Saudi Arabia, no longer have the respect for America the way they used to. We've seen President Biden trying to do everything diplomatic, trying to bring, Saudi Arabia on the table, trying to talk them into, into this, in the oil politics. It didn't really quite work, and we've seen recently Saudi Arabia getting closer to Iran, that happened to be, not so. It's not a friendly country to the United States and Israel, and so more and more, if you have so much power and you're not using that power to be just to people, it's just a matter of time. People figure you out, and more you see people that used to give you respect, starting to disrespect you, because with greater power come greater responsibility. So actually, that was our comment on this Equatorial Guinea stance. We're putting rather than putting message. We believe that the way we can bring this world to some kind of stability is to really calm everybody down and trying to play fair. And I know what I know with the West, they're not gonna play a fair game with the rest of the world. Some of those people that they call the third world country, they will never have a fair, situational relationship So again, we're gonna wait and see, and I cannot wait to see uh, Putin behind the bars in the ICC. And maybe in the meantime, when you look at on a national level here, you can also see the same kind of mandates on President Trump. President Trump being accused, and that can be subject to our next conversation here to see how this events, this if there is any kind of correlation. Maybe the message here is to say, hey, listen, nobody is above the law, but that would be very, special to see a former president of the United States going to jail. They probably would, he's indicted, but I don't believe that anybody gonna put President Trump in jail. I don't believe in that. If that happened, that would be the first. It never happened in the past, and President Trump, won't be the first to do that. If that happened, then I'm gonna start to believe that we are living in a different world. But I don't think that no matter what kind of evidence they have against President Trump, the way power is structured in the United States, they're not gonna allow the president, a former president of the United States, going to jail. It's not gonna happen. But if you do this some kind of correlation, that's just sending a message to the globe, to the world, that nobody's above the law. But we know how it goes. We know how this kind of stuff will end up. Of course, it's gonna be over there. They're gonna be talking. But if people accuse it, if President Trump was accused to be behind the attack on the Capitol, and there's some people died during that event, and nothing happened to him, I'm not gonna believe that this time, they're gonna take him to jail. That was one of the, worst things that possibly can happen to the United States, attacking the very symbol of democracy here in the United States. But if you take him, indict him, he's gonna be going over there in front of a jury, maybe answer some questions. But I don't believe, Trump will go to jail. If that happened, then this country will be in a completely different place in history. So that was the show for today. My name is Malik Lenzonzo, and that was Talk to Me, on GAN Politics. If you have some question, do not hesitate to leave some comments. We will know exactly, what to talk about. Maybe give you some answers on our next program on GAN Politics. That was GAN International. We look forward to speak with you, another time. Thank you so much for watching.